Marvel's Midnight Suns has been one of the most talked about and anticipated games of 2022. From the moment the game was announced, the internet has been talking non-stop about this game and whether or not it's going to be a success. From the makers of XCOM, this game has been under the magnifying glass every step of the way, and I for one have been very, very pleased by the results. Here is our review for Midnight Suns. Okay, so at this stage, I've played about 8 hours of Midnight Suns so far, and I am pleased with what I've played so far. I think part of me was very apprehensive because this is a tactical game, and as a big Marvel fan and someone who's played a lot of other Marvel games like The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't know how to feel about going into a tactical RPG type game like Midnight Suns. I've never played XCOM before, but having said that, I am a big fan of tactical games. And with Midnight Suns, I'm very positively and pleasantly surprised by how much I'm actually enjoying it. Early on in my gameplay, I think there was periods where I maybe got a bit bored with the game as it was playing out, but the more I played it and the more I got into the tactics behind it and the more I understood how to play the game, the more I actually enjoyed it. So the story behind Midnight Suns is that you play as the Hunter, which is the first customizable character in any Marvel game ever. And when I say customizable, I mean you can pick the gender, you can pick the hairstyle, you can pick the skin color, which I was very surprised by because I think from the early trailers, all we saw was the female character or protagonist, as it were, that they presented in the trailers. So I thought by customizable, maybe they've meant costumes or maybe like a quick change in hairstyle, but it's very much like you create the Hunter from scratch. You embody the character, as it were, and it's almost a reflection of who you are as a person. So as the Hunter, it is your responsibility to fight Lilith and her horde of demons. Lilith being your mother, who you defeated many centuries ago with the help of the Midnight Suns, and it's your job again to do so with a new roster of Midnight Suns characters and a new roster of teammates at your back. The story in itself, I'm not going to spoil too much of it, it's very much in the realm of Marvel Comics, you know, the big bad, the underdog hero who has to come and, you know, take on the villain and win. And it's a very good played out story. It plays out in the RPG elements of the game, it plays out in the combat as well, which we'll get into, but overall the story is very much in the realm of Marvel, very unique, very fun, very exciting, and obviously, again, you have a big bad like Lilith, it's worth. So, gameplay in Midnight Suns revolves around a card system. That's the basis behind the tactics of the game and how you implement moves and strategy and all sorts of things that go on within the realm of Midnight Suns. Each character can hold up to 7 cards at any given time, and these cards will create the deck for your character and the overall deck in which you will take into battle. So essentially you have a random roster of 21 cards which are shuffled and regenerated over time as you've used them in combat, and they range from things like damage to support and healing to offering buffs and debuffs to your characters and the enemies. There's a whole range of cards available to you, and the more you progress in the game, the more you can unlock cards, which we'll get into as well, and increase the potential of cards. So like I said, every character has a deck of cards that you take into combat with you. You can only take up to 3 characters, as you've seen in many trailers for sure, but the uniqueness of it all comes from which characters you take into combat with you. Some characters are more proficient in long range attacks, some are more proficient in providing buffs and debuffs, for example Doctor Strange, or some characters are just, you know, very early on very powerful and you use to kind of clear the field of enemies, like Captain Marvel. You're obviously going to gravitate towards certain characters more, but I think the one thing anyone who plays this game needs to understand is that of course you're going to have your favorites, but try not to cling onto your favorites too much because they may not be the best character for a potential situation, and you may end up either taking too long to complete a mission or losing altogether. And of course, because it's a Marvel game and it's because it's superheroes, the main thing is how do the attacks look, and the attacks are very good. In fact, every move a character makes or displays in the game is actually visually impressive. There's not a kind of a lull with any characters. So for example, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is very much a support type character in regards to he provides buffs and debuffs, and obviously he can attack, but the way he conjures spells for any kind of action he's taking is impressive. Blade is a force on the battlefield. Everything is very much intentional, from when he gives himself a buff to apply bleed damage, or whether he's going to attack an enemy. So many of the characters have very good designs to them for every action that they make. That's one thing I'm impressed by this game. I thought it'd be a case of like only certain moves, only like the big ultimate moves and some other would have like a very impressive display of characterization, I should say, but every single thing you do on the field has a movement to it, has some kind of display to it, from whether it's healing or, like I said, buffs, debuffs, attacks, whatever it is, has some kind of movement to it, and it's really good to see. The tactics of the game don't just start and stop with what card you select. There's things to consider like environmental attacks, knockback systems where you can knock one enemy into another object, into another enemy, and like I said, buffs and debuffs. There is a system to what cards you can use. There's also like heroic points where you have to have a certain number of heroic points in order to use certain cards or to even interact with something in the environment, and all these kind of things build up to the point where when you are in battle, you do have to think almost 2-3 steps ahead. Like, okay, I currently have 3 heroic points. How do I get to 6 in order to interact or stack them to create a particular flow in the field where I'm going to clear all the enemies at once, or I'm going to use a particular ability? There is so much to consider with this game that I think it makes it even more interesting if you are a fan of tactical games where it's just a case of like, you're not just going in using Captain Marvel, blasting everything and you're done. It's like, okay, well, I need 3 heroic points to use Captain Marvel's strongest ability. How do I get those points? And then also make sure that my characters are positioned in such a place where the enemy isn't going to kill off a character before the next move. There is also an RPG element to the game itself, and this is when you are in the Abbey and exploring the grounds of the Abbey. There are things like chests to unlock. There is magic to be obtained. There's different locations to explore, like the library and the garage. There's so much to explore, more than just like your bedroom and the forge. Also within the grounds of the Abbey, there are obviously all the characters to interact with, and these interactions with characters are so key to not only the story but also how the characters interact with each other on the battlefield. So increasing the friendship score of these characters is not just a mundane task. It's actually going to improve how the characters interact with on the battlefield. It will allow them to unlock certain movesets and abilities that they weren't able to beforehand. There are combination moves in this game that you're not going to expect. There are hero team-up moves in this game that are incredibly impressive, more than just what you get in the cards, and those are only going to be unlocked to you by engaging in friendship activities within the game itself. So while I am a fan of the tactical based card system for Midnight Suns, I do think there was a missed opportunity to maybe making the game less tactful, I can't even say that word properly, less tactful and more of just like a classic open RPG game where you can move about freely as a character and implement moves and commands and abilities in a more classic RPG style rather than the tactical style. However, saying that, I am enjoying the game as it is. I do think the tactics system and the card-based system works. I do think this game is quite niche, so it's not a game for everyone. Even if you may be the biggest Marvel fan in the world, playing tactical games, especially card-based tactical games, is not something that everyone's going to be drawn to instantly. Do give the game a chance, do give the game a try, but just be wary that it's not going to be a classic RPG game where you can just kind of move about and do whatever you want as a character. You are limited to what moves you can implement every turn, and also what you can do as a character. So overall, I'm giving Midnight Suns a 7 out of 10. I believe that this game holds its own as a unique game that, you know, may not necessarily appeal to everyone, but in terms of being a tactical RPG Marvel game, it does what it needs to do. It does exactly what it says on the tin and provides what I guess you would expect from a card-based RPG game for Marvel. I'm looking forward to season 1, where they'll be revealing a lot more characters. If you haven't seen those characters revealed, go on the Marvel Midnight Suns Twitter page, where I think Deadpool did a takeover and revealed every character coming up in the first season. So that's something to look forward to in 2023. And I will definitely be playing more Midnight Suns, and there's more Midnight Suns content coming to the channel. So please make sure you look out for that. But let us know your comments below, your thoughts below. Are you excited for Midnight Suns? Have you played it so far? If you're watching this at a stage where the game has come out, let us know what characters you want to see more of. What characters do you want to see coming out in Midnight Suns? Do you think it works as a tactical game? Do you think it doesn't work? Let us know in the comments. By all means, and please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. It's much appreciated, and I appreciate all of you for watching this video. Until next time, peace out.